Well, good evening, everybody. This is Phil Stasek. I'm the past president of the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, and I would like to welcome you tonight to our annual election and special program on cyberbullying.
Mine is very good.
We are on Zoom, and we're going to be asking everybody to please be sure to mute yourselves. Please mute yourselves. I see somebody joined us here named Overfield, and if you could please mute yourself. It's going to be important for all of us to keep an eye on that, make sure that we don't talk over the speaker. So Overfield, if you're with me, if you could mute yourself, that would be wonderful. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes, I can. I thought I had done that.
Thank you for muting yourself. I appreciate it. If you can, we can still hear you. We can still hear you. Anyway, let me continue and to again welcome everybody tonight. Then this is a special meeting for the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. It's kind of a meeting within a meeting because we have our annual elections. Usually just takes a few minutes, and then we'll go to our keynote speaker, Dr. Scott Tilley. Dr. Tilley is a very experienced professor and a person who has tremendous experience in the field of information technology, computers, working on the internet. And I'll just keep reminding, whenever I see somebody new that comes on board, I'll remind them to please mute themselves. I see Deborah Perry has joined us, and Deborah, if you could please mute yourself so that we don't talk over our keynote speaker tonight. Let's see. Again, we'll be doing our election first, then our presentation about cyberbullying with Dr. Scott Tilley. And what I think I'd like to do right now is to hand off to our current president, Raed Al-Shaibi. Raed, I know that you had a few things to say, and then you can call the general meeting to order, and I'll take her back from you then. So the floor now goes to our SCPA president, Raed Al-Shaibi.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil Stasek. It's great to have you always on to help with your sets there, showing Space Coast Progressive Alliance behind you. It's wonderful. And I want to welcome our membership to this important meeting. It's our general membership meeting. We do it every year in January to hold the election. So to start it off, I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Yeah, right here.
So it's 6:32.
Peter Bartman just joined us. If you could please mute yourself. Peter Bartman, please mute yourself. Thank you.
So at 6:32, I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's our general membership meeting. It is a meeting within a meeting that we'll have the opportunity to listen to Dr. Tilley later on. So, and I want to pass it back to our chairman of nominating committee, Phil Stasek, to explain the process of going through the election. Unfortunately, this is different, so he'll explain the steps that we're going to take tonight to officiate everyone.
Thank you, Rud. To all of our members and our guests, the Space Coast Progressive Alliance is governed by our bylaws. In Article 6D of the SCPA bylaws, there is an entire procedure set out for our normal meeting, our normal election procedures. Because of the COVID pandemic, we are not meeting live, as all of our procedures are intended to be used in a live meeting. So the board last year created a modification, which is what we're going to be doing again this time. So because we can't have paper ballots and the secret balloting process that we normally do, we're basically using the Zoom feature to do the best that we can. The election of our officers and our member delegates is open to all members who have been members for at least 30 days. If you just joined yesterday, you're not eligible to vote. But and if you're just a guest, we ask that you please do not vote. But the reality is, we ask that our members, folks that have been members for at least 30 days, participate tonight. And again, I'd ask everybody to stay muted unless it's time for us to ask you to come off mute. If you're a member and it's time to vote, we'll have you come off to vote, or if you want to nominate anybody. The bylaws specify that we have a nominating committee that's composed of 3 people. I volunteered to be the chair. We also have Daniel McDowell and Barbara Bingner, who are members of that committee. And we worked with, we actually tried to find as many people as we could who were willing to serve on our board. And we have put together a list of nominees. The nominees for this year that we have found, I'll be reading them in just a few minutes, and then I'll open the floor to ask if anybody from the floor, and this is any member, can be nominated to serve on our board as either an officer or a member delegate. So the list of names that we have currently for nominees.
Oh, I know.
Peter Bartman, if you could do me a favor and mute yourself again, please.
Oh,
Excuse me for a second.
I don't know how to do that.
Thank you very much for muting yourself. Our nominees for the 2022 year include our president, Raed Al-Shaibi, for vice president, Karen Houston, for treasurer, Carol Becker, for secretary, Nellie Cardinal, for member delegate 1, Bonnie Ida, member delegate 2, Ellen Jones, member delegate 3, Bill McKay, and member delegate 4, Dr. Scott Tilley. So those are our 4 officers and 4 member delegates that have been nominated. Do I hear any nominations from the floor? And again, if you're nominating somebody, they must be a current member in good standing of the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. I don't see anybody gesturing. I don't hear any nominations. I'm going to ask one more time. Are there any nominations from the floor to serve as an officer or member delegate of the Space Coast Progressive Alliance for 2022? I'm not hearing any nominations from the floor. We will proceed with the nominees that we have. And ordinarily, in our normal procedure, we would go through and introduce all of the members or all of the nominees. It takes actually a fair amount of time. We then would elect each of them as individuals. Do I hear a motion from the floor to waive the formal balloting procedures and to elect all officers and member delegate nominees as a group?
I move.
So that is moved. The motion
The entire
is
slate, one time, altogether.
The motion is from Vicky Impoko to go ahead and waive the formal balloting procedures, elect all officers and member delegates as a single group with one vote. Do I hear a second for that motion?
I second it.
And that is Barbara Bingner who is seconding that motion. So let's take a vote of our members. And again, this is members only. You can come off of mute. All those in favor of waiving the procedures and electing each of our nominees with one fell swoop. I can read that. I'm going to read it correctly. So the motion is to waive the formal balloting procedures and to elect all officers and member delegate nominees as a group. All those in favor say aye. Raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It sounds like we're on a naval vessel. Everybody's saying aye, aye. All righty, that's excellent. Thank you. Are there any opposed? Are there anyone that opposes that? Any members? Again, we're asking just for members. I do not hear. I'm scrolling through everybody's view just to make sure that we don't miss anybody. There are no opposition. So that passes with a unanimous vote as far as I can see. So congratulations, a round of applause to all of the folks who stepped forward to serve us in the year of 2022. This could potentially be a very, very important year, a formative year, not just for our community, but for our nation. And the Space Coast Progressive Alliance has an important role to play in promoting democracy in the United States, as well as in our state and in our community. So my thanks to all of you that are willing to serve. And frankly, that completes the election phase of this. We are still in the general meeting, and so I'm going to hand it back to our new president. So President Raed Al-Shaibi, congratulations to you, my friend, for serving yet another year. And you are still in the general meeting. So if you want to talk to us.
Let's put, since the general meeting is pretty much over, I'd like to put a motion to adjourn the meeting, the general membership meeting, and return to the evening program.
I will make the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting. You have to get a second as well.
Second.
And do you want to save all those in favor? We could do that verbally. I'm in favor of adjourning tonight.
Very good.
Is everybody in
Aye.
favor?
All in favor? Okay, so we're going back to our evening program, and before we start the program, I want to thank the nominating committee for putting the time to put this together. I know it's difficult, it's different, but hopefully we can meet in person very soon. I know Phil Stasek, Barbara Binier, and Daniel McDowell put a lot of efforts to put this, and of course our Action Project Committee put also the program for tonight as well. So there was a lot of efforts to put this, and I'm very honored and I'm pleased to say that I'm going to be the president again and do my best to lead or help be in the back, whatever they want me. It's always been wonderful working with the Space Coast Progressive Alliance for the past 7 years. I've been with Space Coast for 7 years, and it's just been extra special for me, with a lot of experience and meeting and learning a lot from them. But the past 18, 20 months has been different. And we had a lot of limitation and resources and finding venues or a way to even get together. But despite all of this, we were able, Space Coast Progressive Alliance in 2021 were able to deliver 9 monthly programs in a year. I don't think there's any organization in Broward County that's able to put this, and I'm talking about programs that are of quality, of dedication, and high-end speakers, renowned specialists in every field. And I would like, because they were so important, I would like to, and I know we have a few members with us and they might have missed it. I would like to just go through them quickly and just read the programs that we went through. Just because of my appreciation of everyone. In the month of January, we had the Indian River Lagoon report card by Dr. Lisa Soto. In February, we had Looking Forward, Restoring Vital Institution. And we had Representative Anna Eskamani, we had Cody Westbrook, we had Alan Grayson, former congressman. In the month of March, we had COVID cover-up, a shot of truth. Rebecca Jones, if you recall, was the founder of Florida COVID Action, was with us. Alessandro Sassoon, reporter, and Dr. Dina Grayson, of course, specialist in medical in the medical field and a biologist, and we learned a lot in the month of March. In the month of April, we had a great program, different, A View from the Sky, Our Human Impact on Earth. And Hakeem Olosai, a professor from FIT, Dwayne DeFries, another director of Indian River Lagoon Coalition of National Estuary Program. In the month of May, we jumped into a different program, which was about free speech. I'm right, you're wrong. And we had Dr. Scott at that time with us, and he's with us tonight. Thank you, Doctor. We had also Professor Brett Kennedy from Florida. Brett Kennedy is with Florida Today. He's journalist, and Patty Farley, president of the Democratic Women Club of Florida. In the month of June, Conspiracy of Lies, Voter Suppression in the U.S. And we had Elizabeth Hura from the Brenner Center of Justice, Brad Ashwell, and Nicholas Warren, attorney with ACLU of Florida. In the month of July, we went into a program about Hate Lives Here. Another, unbelievable programs, every single one. This one was with Anthony Colucci, president of Brevard Federation of Teachers, Sonia Millard, with Harry Truman Memorial, and Bill McKay, of course, one of our board members, director of Space Coast Pride, and Jeff Showett, founder Beyond Barriers. And the month of August, SCPA, purpose, goals, and future. We discussed SCPA, future, and goals. And the month of September, we had supreme injustice, ultra-right bias on the bench. Dwight Bullard, a political advisor of Florida Rising, Douglas Keat, Brennan Center, Judge Ali B. Majid, senior judge here in Brevard County. And in the month of October, we went into the human trafficking. It's all around us. Another great program. Melissa Krieger and Nathan Earl and Adriana Harriman and Sergeant Brian Stoll from the Brevard Sheriff Department. And November, I said 9. I think we did 10 or 11 from what I see here. I thought it was 9 of them. 11 program Beyond the Pretty Picture in the month of November. Kathy Elias, independent creator, and Moak, she's also a filmmaker, and Derek Gores, he's an artist. And this is why I read all these 11 programs. I don't recall or knowing of any organization at this size, at this level, that were able to deliver 11 such in-depth programs in 1 year, in a COVID year. So I really want to give our Action Project Committee a round of applause. And I bow to them. They did an awesome, and they delivered to our membership. They worked hard. They volunteered a lot of their time. So thank you, and hope we can continue to deliver forward. And now I just want to spend a minute, maybe a minute and a half, just talking about Vision 2022. What can we do? Where can we go? And how can we help our friends and associates and, and provide residents if they can join and listen to our programs? And unfortunately, we know, there's a lot of work, and we can't keep delivering that much without more volunteers, without your help. So we do have new blood that came in. We have 2 new members in our board. We look forward to their input as well. But in general, I think 2022, we put some broad lines that we want to accomplish. And I just want to read a few of them, and hopefully the board will support and we can accomplish a lot. The number one thing is we thought we can continue to deliver 1 program per month. But because of all the energy that's been going on for so long, we thought maybe we can scale back to 1 program every quarter. And we started with that. Our first program was supposed to be in the month of March. But as you will see today, we have a program today, which is January. We will have a program in February. And we will probably have a program in March, it was scheduled. So we're going back, because whenever we have the energy, the Action Project Committee are committed. They're going to deliver. If there's anything special going on, we will highlight it. We will educate people. We will bring resources, and we will deliver to our membership or to anyone who can attend these meetings. So Vision 2022, basically the main thing that I felt that we need to focus on is we'll introduce a new platform, hopefully, maybe debate formats. So instead of doing this, maybe we'll bring, and we have a great debater, Phil. I know you're going to be doing great in doing some of those. If we can have a program with multiple speakers, we'll have a debate format. We will invest in the opportunity of developing a podcast, a studio for our community engagement. That would be a dream if we can accomplish that. And that would require some funding. And I did, pending on CDC guidelines regarding COVID, I would like to hold a plated dinner annual fundraising. And maybe in the second or the third quarter, maybe we can collect some funds and be able to deliver this podcast. I think it would be great to have someone that can speak on a weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever whatever we can do at that time. Space Coast Progressive Alliance will develop a strategy to broaden its programs and audience beyond progressive minds. I know the people who are joining us today, our majority are progressive, but I feel, and the leadership feel, that we want to stop preaching to the choir. We want to reach across.
Take it away.
And hopefully we can.
Ryan, may I interrupt you for a moment? I think we have two folks that are not on mute. First would be Suzanne Valencia. Suzanne is a absolute community hero. Thank you, Suzanne. But we ask you, please, if you could go to mute, we would greatly appreciate that.
Where do I do that? I don't know where to do that.
There should be a button that says mute. I think you've done it. You just did it. Thank you, Suzanne. We appreciate it. Suzanne found it, and I know somebody else that just joined us. Would you please go to mute? And I think that's been completed. So it sounds like everybody's muted. Just a quick reminder for everyone, because this is a special meeting tonight, we're asking you to please mute yourselves unless you have a question during the Q&A period or you're one of our speakers. So back to you, Ryan. Thank you.
Yes, sorry, I took a little longer, but the last thing that I want to remind everyone that we will reach across other organization. SCPA will adjust its mission to reach members that may differ, but cross our path in justice and social aspiration. So we are open, our hearts are open, our minds are open, we're progressive. We will listen and we will respect other people's point of view. And I'm excited and I'm optimistic that 2022 will be a great year for all of us, health-wise and politically wise. I know we're challenged, and I know Phil will probably hit on a couple of areas that of concern. So I'll send it back to you, Phil. Hopefully we'll have a great year. Thank you again, and thank you for the membership, for their support. All I can tell you, it's $25 a month per person, $35 for the year for the family. Look us up on Space Coast, www.scpaflorida.com. Look at our past events. And again, thank you again for entrusting us to lead this organization. And hopefully we'll be able to deliver a great 2022.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Thank you. And I'll tell you what, everybody, I would encourage, if we could be in a room, in our normal room, we would all be standing up for standing ovation for Riyad Al-Shaibi. Riyad, you are a hero in our community. You really are. You've stood up for years and years to defend people who have a very little voice or no voice in their community. You have been a hero for so many of us. And this pandemic period has been a real test for all of us. Many people have failed the test. Riyad, you have not. You have done so much to keep to defend the people that are employees for you at the hotel, for all the folks that in the mosque, for all the folks in the community. And I'm telling you, beyond the progressive community, we owe a real debt of gratitude to you, Riyad Al-Shaibi. You stood up when very few other people were willing to, when I personally was not willing to lead our organization. And I owe you a real debt. So thank you, Riyad. All of us, everybody in the SCPA, and all the people that have benefited from your work who don't even know who you are. You're a tremendous man. So thank you for serving for yet another year in a position that, frankly, I know you'd rather. You're a lot like George Washington, a guy that doesn't really want to take that position, but is willing to step up when his country needs him, and that is who you are. So enough. Worshiping for at the heels of Riyad, but I really mean it sincerely. Tremendous guy, buddy. Thank you. Our treasurer may want to say something. I don't know, Carol Becker, would you like to say anything about encouraging memberships and contributions? It's your choice. If you could come off mute and make the pitch.
Yeah, we've had several recent people signing up, and I'm just encouraging. It's $25 a year for single and $35 a year for family. You can go on, it's usually a PayPal donation, although you can send checks. Just go to our website. I'm going to let you say what the website is because you're so good at it, Phil.
www.scpaflorida.com.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all I've got.
Thank you so much, Carol, and congratulations on being reelected as our treasurer. For those of you that don't know Carol, she is yet another community hero and a hero for our nation, a retired Air Force colonel, nurse extraordinaire, and electric car fan, diver, so many really, really neat things that Carol has done and continues to do for the
And
community.
solar energy.
And solar energy fan. So for those of you that would love to get to know your board better, I'll tell you what, I hope that one of these days we can actually get back to live meetings, but that's not going to happen at least for a couple more months as this pandemic has to work its way out. Things are getting worse every day, as we know the spread of the Omicron variant is literally threatening our community and our nation. And so it's wise for us to continue on the Zoom format. But again, thank you, Carol. Thanks for all that you do and have done. Our next event, by the way, we've been talking about the fact that we've got something coming in February, and that will be a special program for our first Thursday, February 3rd, and it's about the organization Families for Safe Schools. We'll have more details of that, so keep an eye on our website. Keep an eye out. We hopefully will be emailing and sending out the e-news with more details on that. But Families for Safe Schools is an organization that you need to know more about, and they deserve recognition for all the hard work that they're doing. So that's what's coming up for us in February. And hopefully we will have more interesting programs to follow that as well.
Bill, could I add something?
Absolutely.
I was gonna say, Families for Safe School also has a Facebook page that you can join to join in that conversation too.
So certainly you can also look for the Space Coast Progressive Alliance on Facebook. We have occasional Twitter feed and on the web, and that organization, Families for Safe Schools, is reaching out to the community, and you can, good communications, good people, and we're going to learn a lot more about them in our February 3rd event. Now let's talk about tonight. We have, again, a wonderful speaker who's going to be talking to us about cyberbullying. The federal government defines cyberbullying as, quote, bullying that takes place using electronic technology, such as cell phones, computers, and tablets, as well as communication tools, including social media sites, text messages, chat, and websites. Cyberbullying has become a significant problem for young people, for older people, for so many people in our community. There are people that have literally been cyberbullied to the point of committing suicide. Our community is being pushed around online, harassed, intimidated for any one of a number of reasons. None of them are good. But cyberbullying is something, everybody knows what a bully is. Everybody knows how to deal with bullies. We've grown up with bullies all of our lives in real life. But living in a world where somebody can do this to you, can harass you, can attack you, can harm your family simply by things that they do and they say on Facebook, on Twitter, social media, is something that's fairly new. And I think we all need to learn more. We all need to understand more so that we know how to fight back against cyberbullying. This is not something we should turn our heads away from. It's something we need to learn about, engage, and learn how to stop it, how to fight it as best we can. Tonight, we have Dr. Scott Tilley. He's a professor emeritus from Florida Tech, president and founder of the Center of Technology and Society, and president and co-founder of Big Data Florida. So Dr. Tilley was a speaker for us last year, and our congratulations to Scott for being elected to the board of the Space Coast Progressive Alliance. So let me hand it over to you. Dr. Tilley, you have the floor.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
As I said earlier, when we were having our sort of little, unstructured conversation, you're going to have to pull the plug on me at 30 minutes because I can just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk on topics that I'm very passionate about. And this is definitely one of them. As you said in sort of the intro, cyberbullying is something that up until a couple of years ago, most of us didn't even know existed. And, tonight is what I would call a teaser talk. There's no way we're going to explore all aspects of cyberbullying. And it is in maybe the beginning, if you like, of our series within the Alliance, The Road to Civility. And that's why I was so eager to be able to talk about it. Well, let's take the first two words, cyber and bullying. Now, you described it. The cyber part, of course, means computer, right? So that means people are being bullied online, which when you first think about that terminology, like, how can you be bullied online? It's not like people are like literally beating you up in the, at school. Well, they're not. The big deal, however, with cyberbullying is when you deal with a bully, like in a school, bullies typically are physically large, typically male, and they're literally bullying you. Take your lunch money, whatever it might be. When you move to the cyber part of it, all that goes away. You don't need someone to be physically strong. They don't need to be in your face. They don't actually even need to be in your city. They can be anywhere. All they need is typically the power of things like social media, like Facebook, Google, whatever it might be, to start basically denigrating you. And they're not like in the school, again, in the schoolyard where they're talking to like 10 people. They're now talking to like thousands. And the people don't even need to know you to know how, or they form interpretations of your behavior. So you were mentioning that, is it serious? Is cyberbullying serious? Unfortunately, it is very serious. There's oodles. I mean, I don't want to be, Debbie Downer here about the different kinds of stories that are available online about people who, and these primarily, by the way, are teenage women, girls, primarily, not exclusively, but primarily. And they get bullied online to the point that they take their own life. So there's multiple examples of young girls aged 12 and 13. So for example, and almost all of it, by the way, usually involves I don't like talking about this, but I'm afraid it's true, because when it comes to how to protect your children or your grandchildren from this, it starts bringing up really uncomfortable conversations about how people interact online. But a lot of it has to do with sexting, which is sending pictures of themselves to their boyfriend. And then the boyfriend just sends it to the whole school. And and everyone knows that once something goes into the internet, there's no way ever to get it back. It is always out there. You could always find it. So then these young girls, again, predominantly, but not exclusively, but predominantly, start getting bullied by, they're passing around all these pictures of themselves. They're not doing it. Other people are bouncing around because, one click, another 10,000 people on Facebook see it. Look, now, do these social media companies try and block it? They do, but there's absolutely no way they can ever block it completely. It's just not possible. And the net effect is that most of these, mostly teenagers, lack oversight from their parents or the grandparents, whoever it might be who's taking care of them. They're trying to walk this fine line between, I don't want to be so intrusive so that I'm watching literally every keystroke that these kids make. But at the same time, I want to make them safe when they're online. And although I've only spoken about one example of cyberbullying, which is when people's basically, pictures, literally I'll be very blunt. It's like girls lifting their shirts and taking a picture. And then they go all over the high school or the community college and so on, and they can never get it back. And from that, then they get so pressured that either their family pressures them, depending on their ethnic background, or themselves, and they literally take their own life. There's been cases where, for example, in Texas, there was a young man, he was about 13, 14, and he decided he was going to come out as gay. And he did it to who he thought was his friend. As soon as his friend saw it, he put it online. When that happened, his parents went ballistic because they simply couldn't accept it. He committed suicide. All because of this little chain of events that in the past would never, ever have been possible. But now it is enabled by our internet connected world. And, you know, there's an old saying that when you're online, the anonymity of it feels like you can say anything you want, right? The example would be, you know, I used to live in California. So when you're driving in Los Angeles, which I don't recommend, but if you're driving in Los Angeles and people are cutting you off all the time, I learned very quickly after living there for a couple of years is that, you know, your immediate reaction is you want to give the guy the finger, right? What you learn in Los Angeles is you do that, you get shot. So you absolutely do not, whatever, you know, Zen, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to react. But online, the anonymity is so large that people think that they'll never trace me. They don't know me. So when I used to write, for example, my newspaper column for Florida Today, when Florida Today allowed people to post on forums with their comments on your columns, I quickly learned to never read them. Because it's almost never the case that someone is writing a positive review of what you just said. It's always the opposite. It's something like, I don't know how they were, you know, misreading what I wrote. And it wasn't just me. It's everyone who writes for the papers and writes in the media. It gets so convoluted, gets so anonymized that people are basically being bullied just for having a simple, you know, expression of interest in something. But the problem is these people who are being sort of injured by this, they're generally young children. Okay, I mean, I can take it. You want to comment on what I wrote? Fine, that's no problem. But I'm not a 13-year-old girl who's going to be so influenced by what her peer group and the other people who are hammering her online to the point of, you know, taking their life. I mean, it's just that is the point where we are. So what can we do about it? Well, sexting and cyberbullying and so on is generally considered to be a federal offense, kind of like kidnapping is. So the federal government is the organization that in general has oversight on what to do about it. But as you can imagine if you were placed in charge of, you're going to be in charge of cyberbullying, what would you do? Like, well, it's actually not an easy problem to solve. As I said before, you've got this fine line to walk between parents watching what their children are doing, but also letting their children develop and have healthy, not unhealthy, healthy social relationships, which a lot of them are online. And by the way, I forgot to mention, related to cyberbullying, and a very, very unfortunate aspect of this is where people they're grooming young children for the sex trade, all online, because the parents are not watching what's happening, and they get threatened. The children get threatened by you know, their online activity, and so that they basically say nothing. So, what would I say can be done? Well, first of all, I would say you need to have a very healthy, and for many parents, an uncomfortably open relationship with your teenagers, to follow what they're doing. It's not that you want to control them, but you need to know what they're doing to protect them. And some of these dangers are nothing like what we grew up with before. They're nothing like that at all. And all you have to see is, you look at any video of kids walking around school. Are they ever looking up? No, they're like this, carrying their phone, because they're completely immersed. Yeah, they're completely immersed in their social media. Will social media come under some oversight from the government? In my opinion, this coming year, probably next year, not this year. The answer is yes. So the biggies like Facebook, which is now called Meta. It's not Facebook anymore, it's Meta. Google, which is now called Alphabet. And Twitter, whose CEO just left. All these different companies will very likely come under scrutiny to better protect privacy, security, and online activity. The problem is we sometimes think that, for example, think of Meta, Facebook, that we have the ability to control what they do, but we don't. So if this was in person, our talk right tonight, rather than being on Zoom, I would say to everyone, what do you think is the #1 market for Facebook? If you want, you can put it in the chat room. I mean, we are the most connected society on the planet, so it's got to be us, isn't it? Nope. It is India. By far, India is their biggest market. Other people typically say, oh, it's China. No, Facebook is completely blocked in China. You cannot access it there. They have their own system, which is like Facebook, but it is completely monitored by the government. So we need to be somewhere in the middle, like not blocked, but not, like the Wild West, which is kind of what we have now. Because all of these things foster the ability for bullying of kids. So the other thing, of course, is in the education world where I used to be, there's all kinds of discussions about literacy when it comes to the new 3 R's. It's not just reading, writing, and arithmetic, right? There's financial literacy and there is online or internet literacy. But what if the parents of the children are clueless about what's going on? If you ask them, hey, when's the last time you logged into WhatsApp? It's like, WhatsApp, what's that? Right? And yet the kids in the world, they live on it. And the people who prey on them live on it too. So this is all kind of a sort of a chicken and egg thing where the kids get profiled online. You know the app called TikTok? Remember last year when the previous President Trump, was going to ban TikTok? Well, so TikTok is basically a very short form video, like 6 seconds or so. So you play, these kids just want to be, they're called influencers, right? That's a big thing now. It's not money, it's influence. So they're influencers. So influencers use things like TikTok. The reason why the US government last year was a little bit upset about TikTok is, who owns TikTok? A company run by the Chinese government in Beijing. What were they doing? They were taking all the data from TikTok, and these are millions of people, and doing facial recognition on them and storing all the images of all the kids. And they're not just Chinese, they're here too. So if you ever wanted to travel abroad, they're going to be like, oh, we know who you are. We know exactly what you did. We know exactly where you've been, and we can use that against you. So you can see that although cyberbullying is sort of the entryway, if you want, to this bigger topic of a civil society and privacy, it's just one entrance. And there's no good answer to it because we don't control TikTok. We don't control Facebook, as I just said. almost 2 billion users in Facebook. We've got about 380 million. The rest are all other parts of the world, and we have no jurisdiction other than things like Interpol and stuff. And basically, technology has far gone faster than the legal mechanisms to be able to control this. And then from a societal point of view, as I said, most parents are, I was going to say blissfully, but that's the wrong word. They're unaware of what most of their kids are doing online. If you knew what most of your kids are doing online, you would not be sleeping well at night. And I used to see it in my students. I see it in, now, other, children around. It's like it is literally a different world. And that's why that they're being targeted, and no one's telling them how to deal with these things, because the parents don't know how to deal with these things either. Which comes back to, do we lock things down? Do we keep things open? I don't know. So I'm going to kind of leave it there in case anyone's got some questions. As I said, this is more of a teaser. I could talk at some point. I think we discussed possibly having a panel session with law enforcement. I've dealt with the law enforcement people here, cybersecurity people, social services. All these services need to come together to be able to deal with this. I would call it sort of an online pandemic. Really, it's a terrible thing. And my guess is, if wherever you are, around Brevard County, you probably may not know, but you've got kids who are dealing with it, and the parents as well. So on that positive note.
Thank you, Dr. Chilene. I want to say thanks to you for speaking, for stepping up to spearhead this particular program for us.
Yeah.
This is a particular time in our democracy when we have recognized, we've realized how genuinely vulnerable we are. Today, January 6th, is the first anniversary of the attack on our Capitol. But more than that, it was the attack on our democracy. It was an attack, essentially a coup d'etat, which many argue is still in place. And one of the things that has been so interesting to me is that people sitting at home who are riled up and supporters of the effort to overthrow the government have been attacking supervisors of elections, individual election workers, people who are in an elected position who they feel they need to attack. These people have been using the cyber community in the cyber space, have been organizing with other people to appear in front of people's houses, to threaten their children at school, to follow them home, to threaten them at work, to make their lives miserable, to literally ruin their lives in many ways that you would never imagine. And that is one form of cyberbullying that I don't think any of us really expected to see. And here it is manifesting itself, vomiting on us, literally this horror of what the horrors that lie in the human mind when people get angry, and rather than putting a bullet in your head, they literally can ruin your life by dumping garbage on your family.
Well, you're absolutely correct. I mean, I was using mostly today the examples of younger children because it's such a terrible example, but we can all relate to it. But as you described, other people's, this what's sometimes called the cancel culture. Things can be manufactured out of nothing, and their careers can be torpedoed and bullied using all these social media tools. And sometimes you might say, well, I don't really agree with what they did, but the thing is, what goes around comes around, right? And all these same tools, as you just described, can be used to ruin people's lives in ways that in the past was not possible. And I fear, I really don't know how to fix that, other than to get back to, can we just agree to disagree, but not to go to this level of vitriol and ruining people's livelihoods and so on. It's terrible.
Well, I think it's time that we open the floor. I know we have many people that have questions, and so I'm going to ask if you would like to ask a question, please limit it to 3 minutes. We have actually have plenty of time tonight, so we shouldn't cut anybody short, I don't think. But Dr. Tilley is a wonderful source of information and a wide variety of topics, and specifically to cyberbullying tonight. We ask you, if you'd like to ask a question, either raise your hand or do it electronically. There's this small button, depending on whether you're on a phone, on an iPad, or on a computer. There's a little button where you can, it's called reactions. You push the little reactions button and it'll open up a raise your hand feature. And if you raise your hand, then I can spot you and we can have you ask your question. So if everybody would please, again, I'm going to ask everybody to remember to please keep yourself on mute until it's time for you to ask your question, until you're called on. I know that Bob Soroti has joined us, and Bob, I think you are not muted last time I checked, so if you could mute yourself, please. But as people go through the process of asking questions, either raise your hand and I'll watch for you, or please use the little raise your hand feature. I also like to remind people that we do have a chat function here on Zoom. There's several people that have been making comments in the chat window. And one of them, by the way, has posted the Families for Safe Schools website. So if you're interested in learning more about the organization we'll be examining in next month's meeting, it's posted there. Vicki, thank you for posting that for everyone. The www.familiesforsafeschools.com. You can look at that as kind of a preview of what's coming for next. I
just have one comment on the third posting that said one of our local school board members is being bullied online and her family being threatened.
Indeed.
And so this is an example of someone who's not a child, obviously. They're working for the school board or whatever they're typically doing for the good of our local community. And yet they're being bullied so much that it makes people basically say, why would I ever volunteer for this sort of thing when we know that we need people to do it for the betterment of our society and our community? And to me, that's actually, again, a broader part. And you start getting into the body politics of, one party and the other party. And we've seen it even here in Brevard County, where people are being threatened online. But these are like 50-year-old men, but they're still being bullied online, and it's impacting their whole family and their community. It's terrible.
And Jennifer, who's being bullied, is a wonderful person. That's there are some people who, they're fighters and they want to get out and they want to fight. She is a person who has stepped forward to serve in a very noble way and with a noble intention. I know her personally, and it is so frustrating. We even have a couple of politicians in this county who are known to be bullies. I mean, they are cyber bullies, and they will pick on anyone, and anyone who challenges them, anyone who stands up for a position that's different than theirs, they will unload on them. These are powerful people, attorneys who should know better, who are threatening and attacking their constituents. And it is, I just don't understand how it is that they
well, again, they're doing it because they have the infrastructure and tools in place that they never had in the past. These are not schoolyard bullies. These are bullies who are using the media, social media, and other things to basically smear and basically almost destroy the careers and lives of these people, because it doesn't really cost anything. So as I said before, the law hasn't caught up. The law is very, very different for, what can you say online versus what you're going to say in print. It's quite different.
It's a political tool that's being misused, and it is something that we need to take seriously. Anyway, I see that a couple of people have had their hands up. Carol Becker, you had your hand up. You have the floor.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was going to comment on, is that our elected officials have a bully pulpit now. And, one of them was attacking Jennifer using Facebook and other sources. For the past 10 years, I've worked for the Child Protection Team of Brevard. And Jennifer has actually said what was said against her. And I can verify that was said because I was working the day that report came in, alleging that Jennifer had burnt her daughter. And DCF had to go to where her daughter was and examine her to check for burns. So not only was Jennifer bullied, her daughter had to suffer the consequences of that. And our elected officials are the ones out there promoting this. And it's really frustrating that they're getting away with this and nobody's able to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I do
Wow.
see a lot of the cyberbullying, the things that you talk about, I can vouch. We interview kids and they'll say what happened. I've seen, horrible things, take place. And, even, the kids cyberbullying other kids and what they're dealing with.
I've even, come across cases when I was doing this as a research project, that when we think about cyberbullying, most of the examples I was giving was one child against another child. But there's several examples where it's the mother of another child bullying another child online because they don't know who they are. So it appears that they're the child, but it's actually the mother, or it could be the father, but in this case, it was the mother doing it against the other girl, and then the girl committed suicide.
Yeah. Or a man pretending to be a child.
Yes, that's when you get into all the grooming and stuff, which is just...
We see a lot of grooming out there by different people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Carol, you could be one of our panelists, frankly, because you have deep knowledge in this regard, both online and in physical confrontation and abuse that you've seen. And ma'am, I tell you, I am not worthy. You have given so much, and you have talked about helping the weak and the young and people that are vulnerable. I can't imagine how you sleep at night, the things that you've seen.
Yeah, good point. I can't imagine how people go home from work dealing with this every day. I mean, when I write about it, it's bad enough, but I mean, dealing with it, no way. Yeah.
I see Bonnie Ida has had her hand up. Bonnie, you have the floor.
My question is, if you get hacked, is there ever a connection between a bully can actually go in and hack an account? Does that happen, or is that another kind of fish?
Well, someone who's hacking you could be a bully, but they don't have to be a bully.
It can happen. Like if you're hacked and you wonder who did that.
It could be. So, for example, maybe they want to start circulating what are sometimes called deep fakes. These are pictures that are made, or videos that have your face, but someone else's body, and they get sent out. They're called deep fakes. They're made by software, which is now commonly available through artificial intelligence companies. And so whoever you are, it looks from everyone's point of view, that is your face, and I'll be blunt, in a pornography setting. On someone else's body, but you would never know it. And good luck ever trying to say, that's not me, that's not me, that's me. It's like, yeah, we don't believe you. So that would be an instance of using these technologies to bully someone, for whatever reason they might be doing. They sometimes do it for financial reasons, they just want to get money, but those would be attacking more well-known people, not the average person, because the average person, no one's going to care about them. But if it's going to be a celebrity or a big company or so on, then they start going after them for money. Same technology, though.
I was thinking about, I'm kind of outspoken politically. I'm not mean or don't resort to any bullying tactics at all.
Mhm.
But I say so much, and I do have some people who really object to what I say, and they are not very nice. And I just wonder if they have the skill, they might want to hack me just to get me out of the way.
Oh, you can go online now and you can find, it doesn't matter what your political spectrum is, left, right, middle of the road, doesn't matter. You can find all kinds of videos where, for example, you can find past President Obama saying things that he absolutely never said. But if you were of a certain mindset, you'd be like really angry. How could he say that? He didn't. He never said that. But again, these are deep fakes that they put literally the words into his mouth. And so if they can do it to him, if you became important enough, they'll do it to you.
It is a problem that our society faces, and it is not just our country, but all around the planet, where they can, I know, I remember learning about this years ago. The quality of computer graphics has gotten so much better, and it is more readily accessible to everyone. Smaller computers, you can do it with an app on your cell phone.
Yeah.
But they can take snippets of your recorded speech you might have made and put together words that you may or may not have said, and then blend them together into something that you have never ever said, and it is imperceptibly different. I mean, it's your voice, and it's your face, and it's coming out of, and it is shocking that this is capable. Here 2022. What will it be like in 2025? What will it be like for the 2024 election, guys? This is coming in. And I noticed that in the chat, DP posted a thing that said that Mrs. Jenkins was attacked with the same pornographic deep fake methodology. I had not known that had happened, but that is, again, it is just, it is the whole, I mean, they're going to be attacking your grandmother. I mean, the nicest people that are being attacked in this way. So where are we going, and how can we possibly defend against this? Rather than asking that question myself, I'm going to hand it over to Riyad. Riyad has got his hand up. Riyad Al-Shaibi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Phil. Scott, I know it's this issue is bigger, on an individual basis. There's a lot of cyberbullying, but the one thing that is going to be scary for all of us, and I saw it. You can check it yourself. Anybody can check. Is the electronic armies? They call them. They call them electronic flies. You find them a lot on social media, on Twitter or on Facebook. They're fake accounts. Mm-hmm. They are created to attack and change people's mind. You think it's a normal person sharing their point of view about a political person, and one of the main things that I remember is the Khashoggi, the killing of the journalist. Mm-hmm. In that time, the Saudi government spent millions of dollars, maybe built to create these fake accounts, and that's what's scary. If you have money, if you have the resources, you will be able to create these fake accounts that can defend you. And I'm just gonna. When you debate things with someone, and you see that they're sharing their just blank statements, if you click on their account, you'll find that they're not active. They're just one picture with a couple of pictures under it, and they're just fake. But their opinion is there. If you say one thing, you'll find that there's 4 or 5 people after that attacking you and attacking your input. And that's what's going to be scary. I mean, it changed democracy in many countries. And we know about how Facebook was siding with certain countries or certain rulers at certain time. So this issue is bigger. And I hope what you said at the beginning, that we will see some controls. But at the end of the day, there's influence in this world to keep certain things, certain ways. And it's all about money. At the end of the day, if you have money, you can create these fake accounts.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, these fake accounts you're describing, for example, they're sometimes called Twitter bots on Twitter. And they are accounts that there's no person behind it. It's actually just a program. The thing is, because it's just a program, it can send out thousands and thousands of tweets a day. And these aren't random tweets. These are tweets based on, as you said, they analyze what someone wrote, they identify who that person was, and they do something that is in the opposite, the left, right, left, whatever it might be, and then send them out as a massive blast. And again, it's not just here, it's worldwide. Because there's more than Twitter. I said, Facebook is blocked in China. Twitter is blocked in China. But it doesn't mean people there don't use social media. They do it massively. However, they do it through government-controlled agencies, and they just accept it. Which means if the government doesn't like what they're saying, it gets blocked.
Well, do you think Facebook is honest in the way they allow certain posts to be posted or take people out? I mean, that's who decides. I mean, they're deciding, and they decided the election. I was against taking, Trump when he was blocked.
Well, I
really don't want to.
No, I was
debate
too.
this
I
another-
don't think it was right for them to do that. And it doesn't matter what your political perspective is. Are they right? No, because as soon as they start becoming basically vetting of content online, they are different than what AT&T used to say is we're simply just carriers of information. We don't listen to your phone calls. If we started listening and vetting your phone calls, that's going to make us basically an editorialist. And therefore we choose to decide what will be broadcast and what won't. So they said long ago, it's like, we don't do that at all. It's just zeros and ones. We don't look at it. We don't cover it. It just goes. Now, Facebook has been trying to do that, but they've been under pressure to basically start vetting some of the information. But it is a really slippery slope. And remember I said they've got about 2 billion users in the world? There's absolutely no way that they can keep up with all the posts every day between their three major platforms, which is, well, remember, it's called Meta now. So there's Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. Those are the three companies. And between them, there's billions of posts. You can't have people sitting in San Francisco watching all these things going by. They have to rely on other software to try and filter things out. But it's a mug's game. It'll never work. I don't know the answer. Again, that's why they're not paying me $1 billion. But it's only going to get worse. And someone commented earlier about, what's going to happen, for the 2022, the summer elections coming up, and then the 2024 presidential election. And wow, I don't know. As part of Big Data Florida, we did a 7-part series on fake news, and a couple of the episodes were about politics. And that was coming up to 2020. All the software we just been talking about, deep fakes and all these other things, are only going to get better and better in the sense that it's harder and harder to determine what's real and what's not. And that's just not videos. It's also, you probably, maybe people here listening are not aware that, a lot of the material you read online every day in the newspaper is not written by people anymore. They're written by programs. Associated Press, the news for sports, they're all generated. They're not written by journalists anymore. So my goodness, what is it going to be like when it comes to 2024, when all these things are just getting harder and harder to combat? I mean, we might be a little bit off topic now, but it's a very important topic. So, yeah.
It is cyber journalism. That's a bizarre concept, isn't it? I know that, by the way, I've been reminding people to please remember to mute yourself so that your background sounds are not overriding our keynote speaker. Excuse me. I think Bob Soroti, you need to mute yourself. Thank you, Bonnie, for taking care of that. And for anybody that would like to ask the doc a question, please do raise your hand. You can use the little reactions button that is somewhere on your device. Or you could just raise your hand, or you could just unmute yourself and give us a shout out, and then I can hear you ask your question. Daniel, I would think, DP, I would assume that you would have a question for the doc. DP
Normally I would, yeah, but it's already been covered, actually. I would have asked him about the technology of deepfakes and how that's going to play into the 2022 and 2024 elections.
Yeah.
Specifically, though, I would probably like to point out that as that technology develops, there are also people working on technology to detect that using the same mechanisms that are used to create it.
You're absolutely correct. Most things related to cybersecurity are like a chess match. It's one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back. So we use the exact same AI sort of technology to be able to detect these so-called deep fakes. The challenge is it's easier to generate them than to detect them. So, and a lot cheaper.
And for our guests, AI is artificial intelligence, essentially machine learning. It's a computer that is computer software that is learning and bettering itself rather than humans writing code. A machine is learning on its own. I drive a Tesla, and it is learning as I drive it.
Yes, I mean, for a couple of years ago, this was kind of amusing to me that as a computer science professor, of course, I wanted students to get computer science degrees because they were going to be programming and have really great careers. Until fairly recently, then what's happening? Programs are writing the programs. So the software engineers and the computer programmers are going, what just happened? Where did my career go? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. But where did that garbage come from? Hey, gee whiz. Bonnie, I see that your hand is up. Did you have another question?
Not my question, but I noticed in the chats, it was Overfield, asked, we get put in Facebook jail. DP is famous for that. If they can do that to us, the only thing that ever happened to me was once they told me that I wrote something that wasn't acceptable. I had no idea what I could have done, and I couldn't follow it up and find out what it was. So they do monitor us, and they punish or have standards for us, and yet all these things happen. It doesn't make sense to me.
You're quite correct. I would call it a selective enforcement of their ill-defined rules. We don't quite know what the rules are, and it's enforced. It seems like depending on the day of the week or what's happening in the blowing in the political winds. I think it was just yesterday or today someone got blocked from Facebook or Twitter. A congresswoman, I think. I don't know what she was saying, but she's been blocked for life. And again, it doesn't matter what your thoughts are on what her was saying, but who else is still on Twitter and Facebook? Oh, Kim Jong-il, the guy who leads North Korea and stuff. They're all no problem. So, I mean, if you're going to do one, you kind of have to do the other, but they don't, and they have no oversight, and we have no visibility into really what is happening about why they choose to do one over the other, to block one over the other. And as I said before, it's a very slippery slope once you start enforcing editorial control over online content. They have to go all in or not. And they're sort of in between right now. I think there's a place for it, especially like when we were talking about for kids and stuff. But where that place is, don't know.
I know that if I can throw my 2 cents worth in there, the congresswoman you're talking about was being censured for lying about the coronavirus. I think that the problem was that they have very strict rules that say that you're not allowed to lie about the coronavirus. I think she had been pinged several times. They've been contacting her and saying, you've got to cut it out. You can't lie about the coronavirus and tell people false things that are endangering people's lives. When you make statements and people start using horse liniment for food or
I remember that one.
drinking, bleach or putting ultraviolet lights up their noses or whatever to try to fight the virus. And she refused to respond. And they just said, you know what, this is people's lives. We've got to cut you off. And that's a really interesting point. At the same time, I know that the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, we ourselves will be cut off, which has happened a couple of times just because we are, even though we're nonpartisan and really a non-political organization, some of the words that are in posts that we make tend to be political. We're forwarding somebody else's message or examining something that somebody else said. So it flags a bot. The bot says, there you go, you're using language, or you have language on your website that your Facebook page that is non-compliant, you're penalized, timeout. And there's no way, as you were saying earlier, there's really no way there's no referee, no live referee. And so you're really in trouble. I know Vicky wanted to ask a question about that. Vicky, did you want to step in here? Vicky Impoco, who does a lot of our good Facebook work. She may not want to, or she may not be available.
I don't really have anything to add. We have been in Facebook jail a couple of times for promoting social issues. We're not allowed to do that, and we've gotten caught.
Did you call it Facebook jail? So he said-
But listen, we've been punished. No one is allowed to like our page for
Really?
weeks now. I think you can again. So go to our Facebook page and like us.
Isn't that intriguing?
So that means unelected, unresponsible officials who are sitting somewhere in San Jose or San Francisco or whatever have control over what this organization and others can say or not say.
That's
And
right.
you have very little ability to go against it. You know, unless you're a billionaire, you're like Trump, you're going to start up your own new media company or something. What can you do about it? Well, you can complain, but they're like, yeah, we're not going to do anything.
Dr.
So-
Tilley, I know that you and Dr. Cardinal are going to want to get to know Vicky and Poco. I think that it's probably time for me to schedule a lunch for the three of you to get together and have a serious chat, because the three of you are you're gonna be, I think, a close team with great interplay and great interest in each other's experience.
Okay.
Let's see. I see both DP and Brad have their hands up. DP, I'm going to defer to the president. Ryan, you have the floor.
I think DP was before me. Go ahead, DP, and I'll follow you.
Thanks, Ryan. I just wanted to address we have been put in quote unquote Facebook jail a couple of times, but it was because we're not authorized to use those words, and I'm sorting out the authorizations to get that taken care of so we don't get thrown in Facebook jail anymore. But Bonnie's right. I've been thrown in Facebook jail a few times, and you're right, Dr. Tilley. It's completely uneven. You've got, on one hand, a state rep that can suggest people be shot, and I can't call somebody a sentient cabbage. So I'm sorry,
I
Ryan.
think it was the word cabbage there was triggered it. Yeah.
That could be. I'm sorry, Ryan. I wanted to be quick about it. I'll pass it back over to you.
All right, thank you. No, I just want to learn from your experience, doctor, with the Melbourne Police Department. So if someone got bullied,
Yeah.
What's the right thing to do? And have you seen any success? Do we have the expertise locally to help people who are being bullied on the
You mean
cyber?
cyberbullied, online bullying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So typically my experience, which is admittedly limited, they usually bump things up to the FBI because it's a federal issue. And we do have FBI offices, Tampa has a big one over there, and Orlando and stuff. So it typically gets moved to there rather than a local police issue. It's, as I said, it's kind of like kidnapping. Kidnapping is a federal offense. And right now, because the law is still in flux, most of this stuff is handled by Homeland Security and Department of Justice and the FBI.
So if my son comes to me and says, I'm being bullied on cyberspace, what am I supposed to do? What do you suggest?
Step one, I would probably talk to the principal at school and find out, just like you would, forget the cyber part. Just imagine it's just bullying. What would you do? You'd go talk to the principal and say, look, this is an issue. Maybe we can resolve it between parents, but they need to know that it's happening, at least as a record of it. If they still say, yeah, we don't know what to do about it, then I would go to the police, and who would then eventually bump it up to the federals, to the feds. Yeah.
Vicky just shared something. She said screenshot and keep things with you have to have some material with you when you go. So screenshot, messages, stuff like this.
You definitely need documentation to provide proof. However, I mean, screenshots are useful, but don't forget that I've said this in so many talks. Everything you do online is captured. Everything. So your text messages, your comments, your screenshots, they're stored at your ISP that handles, like Spectrum and things like that, or Verizon. They have records of everything. And they have to, because when the police come with them with a subpoena to get the records, they have to hand them over. So even when you put something online, you say, oh, I'm going to delete that. It's like, yeah, there's no such thing as deleting something online anymore. You might not see it, but it's somewhere.
It is something I would recommend to everyone that is watching me, because I am technically okay, but I am certainly not proficient the way you are, or the way DP is, the way so many people are, young people, younger than 12 years of age. But if you don't know how to do a screenshot on your device, on your iPad, on your phone, your whatever, your Kindle, the kinds of things that people are using, you should learn how to do that screenshot. That's important. It is evidence, and it is something that's usable in your defense. And so many of us don't even know how to do a screenshot. And usually it involves hitting two buttons simultaneously, but you have to know which buttons are which. So for many of us who frequently use computers and are online but are not proficient, we need to learn that skill. That's a skill that everyone should learn. You can go to your favorite search engine and just type in, how do I make a screenshot with whatever your device is, a Galaxy cell phone, or what. You have to figure out what kind of phone you have or what kind of device you're using, but make a note of it and write it down, or put a little sticker on your computer or something so that you know how to do this and you can do it quickly without having to look it up. I highly recommend that. It is something that you can use as part of self-defense online. But again, I guess that could be fake too, right? You could fake a screenshot.
Yes, the legal use of some of these screenshots is questionable sometimes because they can be faked. So I'm looking at you right now. Can I make a fake screenshot of you? Yes.
Easily. I tell you what, the cyber world that we're looking at in the coming months and years is, if it doesn't scare you, the more you learn about it, the more you're going to be scared, because it is shocking what people, even a 12-year-old kid with the right app on their phone can do phenomenal damage, can do phenomenal work. Or
has everyone gone to see the Matrix 4?
Oh yes, indeed. I remember, and I'm guessing that all of us have went to see that first. If you see the first film back in 1999, I think is when it first came out, and it was shocking. I remember Linda and I sat there in the theater and went, "Whoa!" We walked out of the theater, turned around, and went back and watched it again because it was just so shocking and amazing, and what they were doing. In the intervening years, we've now all become so totally used to CG. We all sit around and go, well, they could have done better with that. That you could tell that wasn't real because the hair was fuzzy or something. The truth is, creating a synthetic image of you with your voice and your mannerisms and the correct kind of lighting in your hair and the reflection of your glasses, it's happening, and it's happening right now. And it is scarier than hell, because you'll see yourself sooner or later doing something that you don't want, and that's going to be hard to fight against. As DP said, there are people also working on software they're encoding. I forget what they call it, but they're like seeds into code, into images, and you can look for those to identify whether something is real or whether it is synthetic. And as you said, Doc, son of a gun, if you don't do that, they'll find a way to fight that. It is the cyber warfare essentially is what we're talking about, and it's not just governments that are involved in this. It is.
Oh yes.
12-year-old.
I'm going to leave you with one last little tidbit to think about before we probably have to wrap up for tonight. In the past, I've given talks, and it's coming out even more now, given the rapid advance of technology. How would you feel about talking to someone like we are right now, but that person is dead? But I've been able to download all your mannerisms, your facial structure, your voice, all your memories, and everything else. And therefore, what would you give to talk to your spouse who's not there anymore?
Metaverse.
Do you think that's far-fetched? It's not. It's not.
I see.
It's scary, but it has profound social, secular, religious, whatever you want to call it, implications. But is it far-fetched? No, it's not.
There have been a number of films made about that very topic, AI, and others, that are
The thing is, these aren't films anymore.
right.
These are
Yeah.
happening now.
DP's got his hand up. DP, what do you have? You have the floor.
I just wanted to say real quick, I'll make this easy for anybody that has a Samsung device. If you want to take a screenshot, press the power and volume down simultaneously. It'll snap that screenshot. And Dr. Tilley, what I want to see coming up is cryptographic signatures of those screenshots at the moment they're taken. That would go a long way in making them admissible in legal cases.
It would. I agree. Point taken.
One last question, I guess. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody that's in our group here tonight? This has been a spectacular opportunity to speak to a genuine authority in the field, cyberbullying, and so many other topics that are relevant and that will play out in our democracy. I again would like to remind everyone that this isn't academic. It's not hypothetical. It literally is taking place as we speak. There are, in the wake of of January 6th, there are people that have an alternative view of this, who are bending or creating their own reality, and there are good people who are falling into the trap. They've fallen into the rabbit hole, who otherwise would be good, straight up citizens who are patriotic and want to defend the country, who are basically victims of manipulation from people that they don't know, will never know their names, maybe in a different country. And this really, really important, I think, to point out as we continue this discussion of civility. And that is, you've got to walk a mile in the other person's shoes. Mm-hmm. When you're having a discussion or a debate or maybe an angry conversation with somebody, and you would hope that they would do the same for you, but to try to walk a mile in their view. If they sit around and watch, I'm going to say it, Fox Television or any one of those types of things, and you do that all day long, it affects your view. Your worldview is completely different than the worldview of somebody who gets their local paper or who watches C-SPAN. I watched C-SPAN for a couple hours today and watched some of the incredible stories of what really happened on January 6th. And to see it from people who were there, to understand the horror, the nightmare, and to think that there are people who are openly lying and pretending that it literally never happened. It wasn't that bad. These were communists or were progressive. These were a bunch of liberals that were up there doing this, and they buy it, and they're into it because they've been conditioned. To take over a period of time, enough propaganda can shape your view of the world. We know that this is a well understood psychological weakness that we all have, and so always try to view the other person and hope that they can be taken out of the cult that they're in and brought back to reality. They may not think the way I do, but at least to think more like the way that they used to, I would hope.
I just want to make one final comment before we go.
Doctor.
And that is, you mentioned, Fox versus, C-SPAN or, whatever it might be that's available to you on cable. I wish that we were more media literate as a society. So because I don't have cable, I only have streaming, right? That's all I have. So for me, for catching up with what was happening on January 6th, 1 year later today, I had to watch Sky, which is a UK-based thing. And they were interviewing a lot of people because I can't see anything else. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only person. They either just give up or they can't track down sort of independent journalism to inform their opinions more than just propaganda. So yeah, and having worked in journalism for all these years, it's just getting worse. So yeah.
Well, Doc, I tell you what, before we leave tonight, we always like to encourage our viewers, our guests, our members to leave with an action item, something that we can do. It may be something for the community, maybe something for ourselves, something for our families. But I'm wondering if you have an action item, some kind of a suggestion that you might give for all of us to maybe become a little smarter on this topic of cyberbullying, or something that we can do to protect ourselves, to create a...
Yeah, I do, but it's actually not directly. It was a note I made earlier in our conversation. And there's no doubt, I mean, as I said at the beginning of our talk, we're going to have to come back to talk about cyberbullying and personal privacy and everything, because it's a huge topic and it affects everyone. But someone mentioned that there was a talk maybe last February or so on human trafficking. Was it February, March, that time frame? I wasn't there for that talk. And my comment and question is, when we have all these conversations, it's great. I mean, it's really good to share our different views. What do we do afterwards? I happened to come across someone who was involved in that recently, and I don't know what to do about it. So my action item would be, once we have talks on these very important topics, what can we as an alliance do next? How can we make a difference in our society rather than just talking about it? What can we do about it? Cyberbullying is the same thing. I mean, okay, maybe we should be talking to the FBI and helping things out more, but the realistic steps next, because that is, I believe, everything that we're about. We want to make a positive change. And to do that, what's next? So, and human trafficking, how can you get much more important than that?
Somebody just posted on our chat room that says, stop using Facebook and get off the social platforms. And that is, to be honest with you, how many times have I thought that to myself? Like 3 or 4 times a day. Yeah. That it wouldn't be nice just to be able to just unplug, take your phone and throw it in a lake somewhere and say, you know what, I'm done. Don't want to be involved in this, because this is not the world that I envision. When we all thought of a Star Trek future where we would all have more respect, communication would be more, we would be able to have a universal translator, speak each other's languges and understand each other's viewpoint. Right. That's what I had dreamed of and would hope for. In reality, we've gone into the darkest part of the human mind. And it's really dark. The things that people do and the things that people think at times are shockingly dark. And how do we protect ourselves from that? Doc, do you have any, just a quick little suggestion, a little thing that somebody might be able to do to protect themselves?
Well, I understand everything you were just saying about, it would be nice sometimes if you could just basically unplug and, I don't know, you want to become a Mennonite or something, disconnect from technology completely, but I don't think that's the way to go, because it's infiltrated, if you want to use that word, all of our society. All we can try and do is mitigate the negatives that are permeating. So if we want to go back to one example that kind of circle back related to cyberbullying, spend some time with your children and find out what they're doing online and help them understand what is safe, what is not, and that they can always come to you when there's a problem. They shouldn't be afraid of it. I think that would actually, it sounds simple, but it would actually help a lot. So that's it.
Thank you. Face-to-face, real relationships with real human beings.
Yep.
Seem to be a good solution to the conflict that's created in a synthetic world. Thank you so much. Dr. Tilley, I want to thank you so much for what you've done. I always encourage people at the end of our programs that if our guests, for those of you that have joined us, if you leave this event and don't talk to anybody, if you don't share what you've learned tonight, then what we've done has no value. So it's important that you share what you've learned. Talk to your family, talk to your friends. Maybe you can use social media to discuss the topics that we've had tonight and make the world a better place, because the Space Coast Progressive Alliance is dedicated to making the world a better place. In our own little corner of it here on the Space Coast in Brevard County, we thank all of you that have been here tonight. Doc, if we had a room, as I mentioned to Riot earlier, if we had a room full of people, we would all be standing up tonight and giving you a round of applause. So everybody, please go ahead, take yourself off mute. Let's give the Doc a round of applause, please. And come on live, come off of mute.
You're welcome. And, I'm online everywhere. So if anyone wants to share any comments or feedback or whatever, if you can't find me, I'm sure you can find through Philip or Raid. Just send them a note. It'll get to me and we can go from there. No problem.
Wonderful to have you on board. Welcome to our board of directors. And
Thank you.
I'm sure that in 2022, we will benefit greatly from having you helping us, as well as everyone. My personal congratulations and thanks to everyone that was willing to stand up and to serve as an officer and to serve as a member delegate on our board. You are all my heroes, and I can't thank you enough. I would like to remind everybody to please stay tuned for details of our February 3rd, first Thursday event. Again, it's the kind of the same place, same time. We'll be here on Zoom. But we're going to be talking about Families for Safe Schools, an organization that is trying also desperately to make the world a better place. We're going to have more information on our website. It'll be available on Facebook. Again, mark your calendar. It's the first Thursday in February. That's February 3rd. We want to thank everyone who came tonight, and thank you, Dr. Tilley, for being our keynote speaker. And before we sign off, Red, do you have anything you want to finish with?
Oh, just again, thank you to our membership, all the members who joined us tonight. Thank you for our board, new board members and the previous board members. Of course, we can't thank you enough for all what you've done. And Happy New Year, everyone. Hopefully it's a beautiful 2022.
Hopefully everyone is safe. Protect yourself from this virus. It is a very, very serious threat right now that is getting much worse by the minute. And you don't need me to tell you that. Please, time to get that shot, get the booster, wear your mask, and do it to protect others, not just yourself. The members of the APC that would like to stay on after this event, you are welcome to stay with us, and we can do our debrief. But for everyone else, thank you for being here tonight. We'll look forward to seeing you next month. Again, that's the 3rd of February, our next first Thursday event. And from the Space Coast Progressive Alliance, we wish you all a very healthy, safe 2022. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.